Hi, and welcome to the next installment of our podcast, FX ReFreshed, where we talk to industry experts in the world of supply chain. In this session, we catch up with Jim Badovinac, VP of Green Mountain Technology, who gives us an insight into the benefits of what spend management solutions can do for shippers. Hope you enjoy. I want to kick off really with just talking about Green Mountain, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, what are they about? What are you up to?
So Green Mountain was started back in 1999 by a group of people, our CEO, Craig Russell, and Chief Commercial Officer, Jim Jacobs, and a few others, really Craig brought this knowledge from FedEx on re-rating shipments and being able to audit shipments to the penny. And that's really where we got our start as a parcel auditor. And we've certainly evolved over the last 20 years. And we're now at a point where, and have been for quite some time, where we do so much more than just audit shipments. But it's that initial audit that we do that allows us to rate parcel shipments to the penny. So when you think of some of the largest retail e-commerce shippers in the US, and you think of how many parcel shipments they have, and getting those shipments to the penny, it can mean millions and millions of dollars to their overall spend. And then once we do the audit, we've got this robust platform of data that allows us to really do some unique and creative modeling and recommending on what their supply chain should look like. And we do that for the largest parcel shippers in the U.S. and actually they've been telling us for the last few years, we really need you to provide a complementary LTL solution to what you do on the parcel side, because we need a bigger, broader look at our supply chain network. So after a 30-year career at FedEx, I transitioned over to Green Mountain Technology to develop and roll out our LTL solution, which we betaed last summer, and we're now in full production and meeting the needs of many LTL shippers as well. And kind of the interesting thing is we had our customers telling us, we need you to do LTL, we need you to do LTL, and that's been the case. But the interest that we've gotten from the rest of the market, from non-existing GMT customers, has been really phenomenal, and that's actually our fastest growing segment of opportunities and business within our company. So we're doing a lot of great things. We're specializing in parcel and LTL right now, but we've got many other things on our strategic roadmap where for years and years to come, we're going to be able to provide supply chain value to not only the largest shippers in the US, but as we work our way down market to some smaller shippers too, and really provide value across the spectrum, regardless of size.
Fantastic. So are you, or does the software allow for understanding where maybe money's being spent inappropriately?
Yeah, there's some of that. I'm not sure I would use the word inappropriately, but maybe unnecessarily.
Semantics, my friend.
It's semantics, yes. I'm married to a librarian, so everything is about what you say and how you say it. So yeah, we'll look at networks, and we'll make mode optimization recommendations, carrier optimization recommendations, really helping our customers understand what's going on in the marketplace, and then utilizing all that data that we have with their spend to maybe change things up a little bit. Maybe they don't have their DCs in the right places, or maybe they're shipping the wrong SKUs from the wrong DCs based on where their end users are located. And so we'll make all kinds of recommendations based on the data that we see, and we hire really, really smart people out of just known supply chain universities, and they come to us with engineering degrees and experience in the market that really allows us to do things that other companies struggle to do, first and foremost because of our technology, and then secondly because of the quality of people that we hire.
Fantastic. And so are your clients, are they pleasantly surprised, at least, by the results that you provide them?
Yeah, we make some very, very strong commitments on the front end, and we darn well better meet those commitments.
Right.
So I don't know that they're surprised. I would say that they're pleasantly happy with what we provide, and they're always pushing us to do more. But the things that we do for them, I guess the best way to say it is we have virtually zero turnover in customers at Green Mountain Technology. When we bring just in the last couple of weeks, I've had a couple of existing parcel customers who are talking to LTL about say that they feel as if they're GMT customers for life. You just don't hear that very often.
No. I mean, if you're providing that value and that level of support and service, and I guess importantly, doing exactly what you say you're going to do, and then turning out positive and really great results as well, then one would hope that clients are going to stick with you. But it is, to your point, it's rare that you get clients that turn around and say, wow, yeah, like super impressed. Like I'm a client for life.
One of the things, it's exactly right. One of the things that we're very proud of is we, on average, provide 7 to 10 times the ROI, 7 to 10 times the investment. So our ROI is multitudes greater than our competition, who's really just focused on gain share and finding audit savings. So when we find an error that a carrier makes, we're not incented to perpetuate those errors. We're incented to find those errors, fix them, and we work directly with, on the parcel side, FedEx and UPS and the smaller regional carriers to fix the problem, have it go away. That's not what we're compensated on. We're compensated on a per invoice fee, and then where we really shine, where we make our money, where we help our customers and provide ROI is on the strategic savings, based on all the things that we've talked about so far in terms of maximizing the efficiency within their network.
Right. Okay. So when you identify maybe new channels, new routes, potentially maybe new suppliers, new ways of doing things, is that just a recommendation? Or do you then follow through by helping with the implementation and making those changes?
Both. We make the recommendations. We're the second set of eyes, verifying their intuition. We also definitely help them implement our recommendations, and then we monitor and track our recommendations to ensure that we are indeed saving the money that we said we would on the front side.
Right. And are there any commonalities that you find from one client to another? There's always something that crops up that's typical.
When you look at our customers, they're heavily situated in the retail e-commerce vertical. Although we do have customers that for sure go outside of that, a majority of our customers are in that retail e-commerce B2C type fit. Each situation has its own unique variables that make it different, and really which allows us to provide value. But one of the things that we've seen here recently, really this is COVID, and if you look back into 2020, peak season came about 6 months early. So you had pre-peak, which was peak volumes, and then you had peak, which was peak times 2 volumes. We had a lot of issues with capacity that we had to help our customers solve, and if the big two couldn't meet the needs of the particular shipper, we were looking to help find regional customers, regional carriers to get their product moved. And that's kind of one of the things that we see that's facing other modes when you look at what's happening on the parcel side. There's tightened capacity. UPS in particular is being very particular. They've been very public about saying that we don't necessarily want to be bigger, we want to be better. They're focused on the quality of packaging and the type of shipments they have in their network and ensuring that they're profitable. And FedEx is doing a lot of the same. So we're seeing customers and we're seeing shipments actually bubble up from the parcel space into the LTL space. And conversely, on the upper side of that, we're seeing truckload shipments also bleed into the LTL space. So LTL carriers are becoming capacity constrained. So this creates this disarray in the transportation arena, which really is a perfect time for GMT to be here to say, hey, regardless of mode, we can help you find solutions. And that's what we do. I mean, the audit is what we're known for, but it's a very small piece of what we do. It just really kind of sets the foundation for all the great work we do after that. And that involves all the recommendations that we've talked about, carrier selection. And that's one of the strongest points, I believe, on our team from an LTL standpoint is just the understanding that we have of the LTL marketplace and what we can do to help customers position freight with the right carriers in the right lanes at the right prices.
Right. So thanks for that, Jim. So with what we've seen over the last, I guess, almost 10, 12 months coming up, outside, outside of Los Angeles, with steamships queuing up to get in, with what we've seen, I suppose, in the last week, 6 days, in the Suez Canal. Does that allow for you guys to then, I guess, shine a little bit more so that you can support businesses in their supply chain and maybe making certain recommendations during these heightened times of confusion, I guess?
Yeah, certainly the port situation in Southern California, definitely that directly impacts the supply chain within the U.S. The Suez Canal thing, at this point in time, GMT is not into the ocean or international arena. But again, we've got that strategic roadmap out there that I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So maybe more to come on that in the coming months/years. But most definitely, when customers get in a crunch, they're looking for some help. They may already understand what they need to do to resolve that congestion or ensure that their product gets to the consumer. So we're there either to have them bounce those ideas off of us or have our engineers look at their network and maybe look outside the box in terms of how do they get the product out of, in this example, the port of LA. How do they get it to meet service commitments to their customers? If they're used to trucking it, maybe they've got to put it on an airplane, or if service isn't important and they're trying to save some money, take it off the airplane and put it on rail, or whatever the case might be. We're here to help make those recommendations and work with them on those types of things.
All right, perfect. I saw you comment recently, and I dropped you a note on this with regards to the GRI. There was an article, I think it was put out by Curtis Garrett.
Yes.
And you responded to that. So what I liked about that particular article and the subsequent comments were, I mean, it was educational for me, right? Because when you see a rate increase of X, you just immediately feel like it's arbitrary, it's potentially gouging, but it's not, right? It's right. Certainly not in all cases, and hopefully not in any cases. But it was an education for me, and if I understand this correctly, it could be a price increase of Y in one lane or a bunch of lanes, but it could also result in decreases in other lanes, right? And so the GRI is a net of all of the activity across those lanes.
Exactly right. Yes, and honestly, LTL carriers have gotten so much better at this in developing a level of trust within their customer base. But they over the years, the increases have been arbitrary, and there's been this mistrust between the carriers and the shippers. And I'm a big advocate of shippers and carriers working together. They need each other. So there needs to be that honesty there and that trust. And yes, carriers have become much better about one GRI per year, not a GRI every 9 or 10 months, which would in essence mean 2 GRIs in 1 year. Carriers, unless there's some extenuating circumstance that nobody banked on or even thought of, carriers know their cost. They know what they need to increase their rates by, and what people kind of lose sight of too is the fact that GRIs are only on customers that are subject to their base rates. So, which depending on the carrier, can be anywhere from 30 to roughly 50% of their shipments. Everything else moves on a foreign rate base, which gets negotiated on a contract by contract deal. But in the case of this year, the carriers have been pretty consistent. Most of the increases GRIs occurring between January and March 1st, and most of them running roughly between 4.9 and 5.9%. Just with a couple outliers. Estes had a little lower GRI, as did UPS, which will now become T-Force when that acquisition goes through. But there's more consistency. There's one GRI a year, and actually that's one of the things that GMT does as well. Is when a carrier implements an increase, if a shipper wants us to validate it, we can give them and provide them the exact impact to them based on where their shipments are moving, not the average that the carrier has put out in the marketplace. And really, we don't do that to create any disenchantment between the two. It's really just so that the shipper can make an educated decision as to what lanes they want their shipments moving with what carrier. And
Right.
And that's really a benefit to the carrier too, because the lanes that the carrier has the higher increases in, those are lanes where their capacity's tight or their hinterlands, deliveries out in the pickups, deliveries out in the middle of nowhere, probably not their forte. So we're really just helping. We want to be that Switzerland between the shipper and the carrier to help them position freight in the right lanes at the right prices, so everybody benefits, and carriers have good operating ratios, and shippers are moving shipments at the best possible service at the best possible rate. That's really what we're here to do.
Right. And so here's a dumbass question then. I assume you're only paying for the lanes that you're using. You're not paying that average. So you mentioned like between 4 and 5% is the kind of typical norm. Like that's the across the board, right? Across all of the lanes that are available potentially.
Right.
But you're still only paying as a shipper for the lanes that you use. So there could be some positive benefit in the sense that the lanes that you happen to be using that particular period receive the decrease.
Correct. If you're a big shipper out of, say, South Florida, you could potentially be paying higher than the average GRI just because you're shipping out of a state that's chronic head haul for most carriers. And if you're shipping out of the Northwest, out of Seattle or Portland, which is historically chronic backhaul, you may be paying a little bit less than the GRI, depending on where those shipments are actually going to. So again, it's just ensuring and providing that validation at the end of the day that here is actually how much your rates are going to increase by if you continue to use this carrier in those exact same lanes.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Jim. So talk to me about the win-loss analysis.
So having worked at FedEx for 30 years and in pricing for the last 20 years, one of the more frustrating things that we would go through would be to lose an RFP, but not have a clue as to where we were. Did we lose that opportunity by 2%, or did we lose that opportunity by 10%? If we had known it was 2%, there might have been some things that we could have done, made some adjustments somewhere to get closer to that delta. At 10%, you're probably too far off to really worry about it, but it's still good to know. It helps you build a database that helps you make better informed decisions going forward. So one of the partners that we work with, Banyan Technology, they're working with carriers and shippers with their Carrier Insights program to really help shippers and carriers, but in this case, more specifically carriers, understand what's happening in the marketplace, what price levels are shippers buying at, and maybe where a carrier is missing the boat when it comes to their RFPs. And it's not just a matter of sharpening your pencil and reducing your rates 2% to win the business. It's really where else in our program or where else in our offer can we make adjustments or tweaks that allows us to get closer to that 2% delta. Maybe it's filling backhaul lanes and reducing rates there. It's just a matter of understanding the shipper's business better and what it takes to win the business. And that has been missing regardless of which carrier you work for, and something that's desperately needed to make better decisions and to help carriers get to the margins that they need to be at to allow them to reinvest in their facilities and their equipment and their people. And that's ultimately what they want to do, and then provide a return to their shareholders, of course.
Right. So a couple of times there you mentioned the delta on price. Excuse me. So is that typically why you might lose an RFP on the price? And if so, is that typical for the industries, just looking at the bottom line and not necessarily looking at all of the other value adds that you can provide for a slightly higher fee?
Yeah, no, I think the really good carriers, they do a great job of calling out the value adds, and they do extract a higher fee, and rightfully so. Whether it's based on technology, service area. More and more carriers over the years have gone to serving all points in all states, where that there used to really just be one carrier that did that. So that the carriers have realized that they have to improve their technology, and they've done a phenomenal job in that regard. They have to provide shipment visibility, which is incredibly important throughout the supply chain. More and more carriers are getting better at that. So there's always going to be differentiators between the carriers, but it's past experience. It's typically price that either wins or precludes a carrier from gaining the business.
Right.
So it's definitely price. And then I'd say number two on that list is service. Is it a 1-day lane versus a 2-day lane, a 2-day lane versus a 3-day lane, or are you looking at regional carriers versus long haul carriers, and what's your situation as it relates to how many carriers can you fit into your warehouse to pick up your shipments? And then you've got to make those decisions as to, do I need one carrier that can service the entire country, or services of the utmost important? I mean, there are carriers that specialize in different pockets. Can I bring 5 carriers in? And then how important does price impact that decision also? So it always typically comes down to price.
Yeah, I guess it does, right? I guess it does. And finally, I know that time is pressing. Before I let you go, so COVID, how has that impacted GMT over the last 12 months? I mean, I'm going to be very careful how I phrase this question. Like, has it been a positive experience, notwithstanding the trauma that most people in the world are facing right now? But for you folks, has it been a period where businesses ramped up, where you've been able to demonstrate and show tremendous amount of value, or have you seen it drop off at some point?
Yeah, exactly. Take away the worldwide concern, take away the concern that employees have. It's been an incredibly positive experience for GMT on multiple different fronts. I mean, from a revenue standpoint, you look at who our customers are and their retail e-commerce, and you look at what's happened in the retail e-commerce space, and it has absolutely boomed. So therefore, our volumes have boomed, and we've been able to provide incredible value to our customers with their volumes raising, and it's allowed our company to grow as well. So it's been incredibly beneficial from that standpoint. the only negative in the COVID era has been new shippers unwilling to make big decisions and big changes in their network. So a lot of deals that we were working on have been put on hold, and now they're starting to regenerate, and we're really busy from a prospect standpoint right now.
Okay, so plenty of conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And then just on the softer side of it, we've really realized that we can be as efficient and effective, and maybe even more effective and efficient in a work from home environment than we are when we've got everybody in the office. So I think that's going to change how GMT looks going forward, and where people actually go to do their job every day. Is a high percentage of them will be right here in their homes doing their jobs, which again, I think that's it's a great advantage for companies that are willing to do that in terms of recruiting and retaining high performing individuals. And I just know for myself, it's been great. I've gotten to know my dogs a heck of a lot better over the.
I mean, as they say, and hopefully my close friends and family won't specifically hear me say this, but the benefit of working from home is that you get to see your family a lot more.
No
The
doubt
downside of working from home is that you get to see your family a lot more.
Exactly.
No, but to your point, I mean, I've been actually working from home for about 6 years. So when everybody switched to it 12 months ago and were pulling their hair out, I was already in the groove. But it takes a little getting used to. It really does. You have to, plan your day a little bit more, especially if you want to catch up with colleagues, and missing that water cooler chat, if you will, is kind of key. But I think having that balance, being able to get into an office, be able to like have a physical face-to-face encounter, catch up with some other colleagues, and I guess learn from them and listen to what they have to say in person is one thing. But then having that time to focus when you're actually at home and you've got no distractions.
No doubt about it. The one thing I will say, adding on to that real quickly, is there's really nothing that can replace face-to-face interaction and that level of trust and relationship development. But what we found over the last 4 months, as we've sort of gotten back into customers wanting to talk about our solution, is we're able to get in front of more customers more quickly than we were if we had to book flights and travel and stay in hotels. And, have one meeting every couple of days or one meeting a day. We're now able to have multiple meetings a day. People are comfortable with Zoom and Teams, and we're really able to get ourselves out there a little bit better than we would just under the old normal scenario.
Absolutely.
So,
well, Jim, listen, thanks for joining us today. Sincerely appreciate it.
You're welcome, Mark.
Time is up, but we'll catch up soon, no doubt.
Sounds great.
Thanks again. Cheers, Jim.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, mate. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.